So our next reader is Joe Wadlington. That is the correct reaction. When the end times come, Joe Wadlington will be safely ensconced on a fainting goat farm deep in the mountains. When he decides to amble down to grace what remains of civilization with his presence, those who have survived will wait with bated breath to see if Joe will appear as Joe, the storyteller and very handsome man that they all adore, or as Jean and Tonic, their queen who demands death drops and voguing of her citizenry. Either way, they'll just be grateful for the visit. Joe Wadlington.
So I got to write a story in Meg's universe. Yay! Road to no. Actually, Meg told me when I got Meg's first book, I have the old cover of the original publication. She actually told me not to read it because it would be too scary for me. I'm a delicate little hummingbird. But of course I've read it and enjoyed it very much, but there are many incredible things to enjoy about Meg, but one thing that I love in particular is how smart you are. You're incredibly intelligent and you know so much about so many different things to a level of depth that is really unnecessary. And so I know with Meg it's obvious, like, oh gosh, all the ink is dried up, so we must milk the chestnuts to make our own ink. And I'm like, chestnuts have nipples? Like, I don't know. So I decided to give a full shipwreck, gross treatment to Road to Nowhere from the perspective of dumb characters who won't make it, because you seem to have just assumed that everyone is just like, ah, yes, chestnut milk. No, that's not how that works. So this is the Book of Jenna. Jenna had Instagrammed a screenshot of a tweet about how the world was ending. 4 hours later, she only had 4 likes. She was pissed. It took 6 more hours before she realized the reason people didn't like it is because they were dead, not because they didn't like it. Which was comforting. She walked to the bodega on the street to get 3 things of coconut water and a bag of pine nuts. But it was filled with an eviscerated body and on fire. She only got the pine nuts. She ate them on the roof of her building with the bottle of Smirnoff she kept under her bed. She had to go up there because her roommate was throwing up blood so hard that chunks of her throat were floating across the kitchen floor. Weeks ago, Jenna had sent her a text about not being so dramatic all the time. Clearly that hadn't been read. Jenna looked around the skyline. There didn't seem to be any alive people around, but there were lots of explosions, so she guessed the Giants won or something. She finished her bottle. 30 minutes later, she was out on the street. Jenna had tried to confront her roommate but she was such a bitch about it, so Jenna just grabbed her purse and left. Everyone who was alive was running around like crazy. There were bodies and glass everywhere, and cats were stealing jewels, and babies were smoking cigarettes like it'd be their last. In this alleyway, there was someone doing surgery on someone else with a dull fender. It was so stupid. Jenna stole a car. She thought, you know, if the world is really ending, I can probably snag some cool shit from that West Elm in Emeryville. There was a faux mink occasion throw in winter white that she'd had her eye on. So she drove down the road until it was blocked by a different car, got out of her car, got in that car, drove down the road until it was blocked by a car, got out of her car, got in that car. Until she got to that bridge, not the orange one, the white Brooklyn Bridge. Met another idiot who was doing the same thing. They looked at each other, and in the vein of unmoving cars, "This is so stupid," Jenna said about the traffic. "Yeah, like really fucked up." The dude responded. He seemed upset. An explosion rocked the on-ramp, and a band of raccoons raced by in broad daylight. The dude started crying. "What happened to those dogs?" "It's so stupid," Jenna said to comfort him. They walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, or whatever, and then to add a feeling of loss to their plot lines, they mourned the things they would miss aloud. He would miss bugle chips and New Music Fridays and pranking his friends and his mountain bike and beer and pooping at really nice restaurants. She would miss vacations and Candy Crush and spin class and reality TV and hiking and going to the beach. But her roommate was probably dead, so there was that. They listed the skills they had for the new world. The dude said he could run real quick and asked Jenna if she wanted to see. Jenna said her wilderness skill was that she grew up in Colorado. But he was already too far away to hear. When they got off the bridge, science rusted it and it fell into the sea. California Pizza Kitchen had already been ransacked, and there was no one to tell them when the movies were going to go in the theater. But West Elm was entirely untouched, so Jenna could get her occasion throw. In person, White Winter was too white, so she got French vanilla. She wrapped her prize around her shoulders and skipped about. They were starting to get hungry, so they broke into a Jamba Juice, but no one was there to turn the fruit into juice, so they just got bottled waters. Jenna could tell that Jenna could tell the dude thought this was a date, but it was not a date. They walked across the parking lot making out and telling each other the plots of movies that their friends had seen. It felt super normal, but then Jenna remembered it wasn't normal. It was a different world. Not the same world now, but a world that was dissimilar from the previous world, which had been altogether unlike the world in which she was currently now in. And this world was bad, and the other world, which was different and had come before this world, well, it had been fine. And now that the new world, which was now, was so bad, she realized that that world had been fine. But she'd been too drunk off dumb bitch juice to appreciate it. And now she just had to die. Sucks. Then they saw it. A Dick's Sporting Goods loomed before them with immense promise of survival gear. Dick. The dude said and punched Jenna's arm. Then she laughed too, because it was pretty funny. They walked in and were shocked to find that everyone else had already thought of that. The place was trashed and empty, completely empty, and honestly super gross. The dude ran into the parking lot to set a car on fire and then came back, and Jenna was testing putters on the mini golf green. "Wanna fuck?" he said. She'd forgotten that he was around. But when she saw him, she remembered that, yeah, she did wanna fuck. They disrobed and started putting their stupid mouths in places. He sucked on her neck like a horny little guppy, and she batted his testicles where the pee is kept, around like a cat toy. Jenna got up and spread her foamy occasion throw, French vanilla, beneath her and smiled. What she hadn't told this dude is that her real wilderness skill was that she could come impressively, shockingly, dangerously hard. Like, she could go for distance and often did and usually blacked out. She knows that the world had ended and stuff, but there were signs that said dicks, like, everywhere in this store, and they just kept laughing and laughing. And she had him deep throat the handle of the golf putter and then gently slide it in her so that his hands were free to work her clit like a stand-up arcade game. He wasn't good at it, but not so bad at it that she couldn't distract herself and imagine someone who'd previously been better and then transpose that person into this current situation. She thought about her short, stupid life. She probably could have been nicer. She could have bought more stuff. She could have had another Mai Tai or 3. She looked around the disheveled store and thought about the hundreds of dead, twisted bodies they'd passed on the way here, somehow for the first time. She knew that she would probably be headed to that great froyo parlor in the sky, but being fucked by that hot-ass golf club on the green of a sports things store was so fun she just didn't care. Then she got an idea. This is how she would go. She would try to come to death. She didn't have much fluid left in her body, and that's probably how the rest could leave. This dude seemed down to do whatever, it'd be fine. She told him to fuck me harder. Guys love hearing that shit, and he grabbed the golf club and began moving it in and out ferociously in a way that shouldn't feel good, but really fucking did. She moaned and clawed at the golf green. If she wanted to, she could come right now, but she didn't want to. She wanted the big death, not the little death. Come on, dude, harder. Don't be stupid, she said. She started putting more force into it, one hand on the golf club, the other on her clit. The club and the clit, the club and the clit. Jen was holding back so hard she felt like the Houston Dam. But she needed more to really come so hard that she died. More, you stupid jerk, she said, and the dude was so turned on. Click, club, click, club, click, club, click, club, harder and faster and hornier, until Jenna thought she could really do it. She had so much sex in her body now, she just had to let it her out for herself, for Colorado. Oh my God, so weird! She screeched into the dystopian air. The golf club shot out of her like one of those spear things that you shoot with a gun into a whale. Whatever those things are. It went right through the guy's stomach, pinned him to the wall beside the soccer cleats. It would take 3 of the longest days of his life before he would die of dehydration, not blood loss, dehydration. But Jenna just kept coming. The golf club was just the cork on the cum pain. Her jism arced, filled the cup of the golf green and runneth over. She kept pushing her sex muscles through a thought about the beach and about Target and about her blender and her coworker's cat, and thought about how stupid the world was and how coming herself into oblivion in this sports stuff store was as much or more legitimate as anyone else's hero death. And then she thought about comfy tracksuits, just generally. And that's when she knew she was dying. The lighting of her thoughts grew soft and disconnected. The relentless screaming from that guy grew quiet. Jenna drifted away like she was drifting off to sleep, but with more gravity. She closed her eyes like she was sawing royal leaf, but it was hornier than that. She had her West Elm throw. Her roommate was dead. And she had come herself to empty. The Book of Jenna was not written down by her, but when people found the body, it was shockingly clear what had happened.
You're my French vanilla fantasy. Hi.
Thank you. You can Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Joe Wadlington. My handle's the same everywhere. Uncommon last name privilege. And I will be at Sleepover tomorrow at Piano Fight. What time does it start? 7. And I have to tell a scary story, which I've never done before, so I'm super excited. And then my drag debut is this Thursday, May 2nd. It's at the Edge right after they do Drag Race at the Monster Search. So it'll be like 10:30. Just come, watch Drag Race, and then stay for one extra drink. And I'll be doing like me on stage drag for the whole first time. And it's Selena versus Celine night. I'm staying in my lane and doing Celine. And I'm going to give you, just for a little taste, I'm going to give you full iceberg drag. There are not enough strong female iceberg representation, especially these days with climate change. And so I am going to be an iceberg. Like, literally.